This is a video to review our topics that we've studied so far in Chapter 9. So let's go ahead and get started. The few things that we will cover are going to be statistical questions, which here we're going to decide if a question is statistical or not, and then explain our reasoning. The second thing that we will cover are dot plots, also labeling the peaks, the gaps, and the clusters in that data. Third, we will cover the mean, median, mode, range, calculating that for a set of data. And then lastly, we are covering the mean absolute deviation of a data set, or what we like to call as MAD. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first questions say to determine if the following questions are statistical. Then we need to explain. So question number 1 says, what is your favorite color? So determining whether a question is statistical or not, we have to think about the types of answers that we're going to get. So a question is statistical if we get a variety of answers. A question is non-statistical if we could have a variety. So here, when you have a question, what is your favorite color? If you were to ask everybody in your class, what is your favorite color? If you could get a variety of answers, that would be considered a statistical question. So for this question, it actually is statistical. And then when we need to explain, that could be a couple different ways. One way we could say is there's no right answer to this question, no correct answer. Or we could say that we could get a variety of answers if we ask this question. So something along those lines would be our explanation. But we have to make sure we remember to explain our answer. Our second question says, how many days are in a week? Again, we have to think about if we were to ask this to a bunch of different people, could we get a variety of answers, or is there only one correct answer? So for this one, how many days are in a week? There's only one correct answer. So this one is a non-statistical question. Third, how many classes do you attend in a school day? So thinking about our school day at Sparing, how many classes do you attend on a daily basis? That again is going to be a non-statistical question. I'm just going to write NS for now since I don't have a lot of room. That is a non-statistical question because everybody attends 7 class periods a day. Now, yes, there are different classes that you attend, but it's asking how many, not which one. So that makes it a non-statistical question. And our last question here, how many pets do you have? So again, think about the types of answers you would get. If you were to ask everybody in your class, how many pets do you have? You could get a variety of answers. So that one is also going to be statistical. And my explanation could be, again, I get a variety of answers to that question, or there is not a correct answer to that question. Either one would be fine. But make sure that you are explaining why you chose the answer that you did. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic, creating a dot plot. Label the clusters, peaks, and gaps. So I'm going to start off with actually just using my title. I'm going to write my title over here, number of emails. Number of emails. And I'm going to use the data I have here. Now, this one originally was a different number, but I changed it just for this question. Now, we can't just change our data, but for right now, I'm going to act like that was a 5. So my smallest number is 2. My largest number is 19. So when I make my dot plot, I need to make sure I start with my smallest number and I end with my largest. I can go a little bit farther if I need to, but I have to make sure I have all of my numbers on my dot plot. So I'm going to start at 2 and go ahead and number up to 19. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, get that done, and then restart. So I've gone ahead and numbered from 2 to 19. So my next step is actually to record my data onto my dot plot. So I have 112, 2, 5, 15, 17, 19 our largest, 16, 18, 16 again, 14, 13, and then lastly number 16. Now here it says to label the clusters, the peaks, and the gaps. Now there's not necessarily one of everything. There could be multiple of something. So I'm going to go ahead and start with gaps. And that's when you skip data points. So here, like we started at 2, but we didn't have any more data until 5. So we can consider that a gap. But there's also this spot between 5 and 12. That's also another gap, just a little bit larger. So those would be considered gaps. The peak is the highest point on your graph. Here, that's going to be 16, so we're going to label that a peak. It's got the most data. And then clusters, there's really not a big cluster of data. They're all kind of spread out. So I really wouldn't label a cluster there. It would be more a cluster if there was a lot of information or a lot of data in between like 16 through 19, something along those lines. So since everything's pretty spread out, there's really only one of each except for 16. I'm not going to label any clusters there. So here we've created our dot plot. We've labeled it with our title. We've numbered and labeled gaps, clusters, and peaks if they exist. So that's how you create a dot plot. Make sure you label everything. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next questions, which are mean, median, mode, range. And before we get into any questions there, I'm actually going to go over the mean, the median, the mode, and the range and how we get there. So first, we have the mean. And in order to calculate mean, you need to add up all the data values, and then you divide by how many data points you have. So you add them up, find the sum, and then divide by how many data points you have. So that's mean. Median is you need to order your numbers from least to greatest first. That's a big thing for our data points here. We need them in order from least to greatest, and we find the middle number. So we're crossing off largest and smallest until we get to the middle. The mode, again, it needs to be in order from least to greatest, and it's the number or numbers that you see the most often. There could be no mode or there could be multiple modes. There doesn't always need to be just one. And then lastly, we have the range. And again, we have to order them from least to greatest. And in order to calculate range, we take the largest number and we subtract the smallest number from it. So since we have that quick little review, we also have notes from class. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And so what I suggest you guys do is, since we're finding the mean, median, mode, and range of the following data set, I want you to go ahead and pause this video, calculate the mean, the median, the mode, and the range. Then once you have that, and you may use a calculator, restart this video and check your work with mine. Okay, so here is what I got for mean, median, mode, and range. The first thing that I did was I ordered my numbers from least to greatest, and I like to label them, or not label them, line them up right underneath the original numbers to make sure I have the same amount. So you should have 7 numbers in your list. When I found the mean, I added them all up. So 7 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 12 plus 17 using a calculator, and I did get 70. So then I divided that by 7, since that's how many numbers are in my data set, and I got the mean of 10. The median is the middle number. So I cross off largest and smallest numbers until I'm left with either 1 or 2 numbers in the middle. Here was just 1, so my median is 9. If there were 2, I'd have to find the number that falls right in between the 2, and I can do that by adding them both up and dividing by 2. The mode is the number I see most often, and in my list, the only number I see more than once is 7, so 7 is my mode. And range, largest minus smallest, so my 17 minus 7 gives me 10. I've got one more problem just like this. So again, pause the video, order them least to greatest, find your mean, median, mode, range, and then go ahead and restart the video to double check that you got the correct answers. Okay, so again, I ordered them from least to greatest first. I added them all up. I found the sum, and I should have gotten 91, or you guys should have gotten 91. When you divide that by 7, you end up getting 13. And we divided by 7 because there's 7 numbers in our list. So our mean is 13. The median, again, the middle number. So I cross off until I'm left with 1 in the middle. I have 12. The mode, there's actually no number that I see more than once. So there is no mode. And then lastly, the range. Largest number minus smallest. So 19 minus 8 gives me 11. And we're going to cover the last topic, which is the MAD, the mean absolute deviation of the following data. Now, there are 3 steps to find mean absolute deviation. The first step is to find the mean of your original set. So we're going to find the mean of this original set. The second step is to find the distance between each data point and the mean. And then lastly, the third step, the final step to get our answer, is to find the mean of the distances that we found. So first, go ahead and find the mean, check with me, and then we'll do our second step. So go ahead and pause the video, calculate the mean, and you may use a calculator to check. So calculate the mean, and then go ahead and restart the video. So I went ahead and I added up all of my 10 numbers here, and I got a sum of 290. And then when I divided that by 10, because there are 10 numbers in my data set, I get a mean of 29. So I get my mean of 29. So I'm going to go ahead and write 29 underneath each one of my numbers here. And that's going to just help me find the distance between each number and the mean. So since we have our mean now, go ahead and find the distance between each number and the mean. Again, pause the video, and then once you found the distance between each number, restart it to check with me. Okay, so here I found my distances. Hopefully we have the exact same. Compare with mine. And then our third step is to calculate MAD. And what we do is we take all of these numbers for our distances and we find the mean of those. So find the sum of these numbers, and then you need to divide by how many numbers are there. And again, there's still 10 numbers, so find the sum, divide by 10. That answer is going to be your mean absolute deviation. So go ahead and pause the video, check that, then go ahead and restart the video and compare with me. Okay, so when you find the sum here, you should get a sum of 44. And then when you divide 44 by 10, you get 4 and 4/10, 4.4. And that is your final answer. You don't have to round, and it's okay that you have a decimal. If we had a decimal that kept going and going, we would definitely round. But because this decimal ends, we just leave it that way. So 4.4 is the mean absolute deviation, or MAD. And this concludes our video. So rewatch any sections you feel like you need extra practice with. Make sure you look over graded homework and your notes from class, and good luck studying.